So you want to make ingots, huh? Well, that's not really what this channel is about, but I thought, you know, there's an opportunity here to maybe talk about some of the tools that you're going to need. If you're interested in making ingots, getting into that practice, hey, more power to you. You know, why not? It's fun. It's fun to do. And who knows, maybe it'll turn into something else for you. Anyway, I thought I would just show you a couple of things. I'm going to put up a list over here, and I'm going to try not to stand underneath it, that will talk about things that you're going to need, and then probably some things that you're going to want. You may want to think about anyway, but for sure things you're going to need to get. So let's look at the very first one. The first one is a furnace. You're going to want a furnace. Now, it doesn't have to be a big fancy one like this one that I've got with, you know, the nice lid and my logo and everything. It can be just like that guy right there, which is my very first furnace. I built it inside a paint can, ran it for 2 years, and it worked just fine. So you're gonna need a furnace. And that, of course, includes a burner. All right, next thing you're gonna need a crucible. Now, this is a graphite clay crucible, and I highly recommend you go with the graphite clay as opposed to something like steel. And the reason being, aluminum is a very reactive metal, and it will react with the steel. You don't want to melt steel in with your aluminum. It will settle out to the bottom, there's no question, but it can actually affect the quality of your aluminum and make it very hard to machine should you ever want to go that route. So go with the graphite clay. They're not that expensive. They last a long time if you take care of them. Mind that one. This one is easily 2 years old, easily. And then you're going to need something to melt. Now you could melt these guys. I personally, I hate melting those guys because they're almost all crap. You get so much dross or slag, whatever you want to call it, off the top of cans because the cans are actually coated with a paint and they have a kind of a plastic liner inside them. And so when you do it, when you melt them, you're going to get all that stuff at the top of your crucible. I melt cans, and I'll tell you what, I get at least 50% just dross, slag. So I am going to melt today, believe it or not, I'm going to melt horseshoes. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's not aluminum. These are actually aluminum horseshoes. Our farrier gives them to me because he knows that I'll melt them. And yeah, it's funny. My wife has a lot of horse friends, and they love things made from horseshoes. It's just kind of like, ooh, look, it was made from horseshoes. So anyway, we're going to melt horseshoes. All right, so here's my crucible. It is full of cut up. I went ahead and cut the horseshoes up into manageable size pieces. This is a digital thermometer that uses a K-class thermocouple to measure the temperature of your metal. This is going to go in the want category. I don't think you need it, but you're going to want one. You're going to want something to skim the dross off your melted metal once it's done, because all metal has an oxide film or just crap up on top of it that forms. You're going to want something to skip it off. I have found that having a scooper, a scraper, a skimmer, called a skimmer, a dross skimmer, with a curved face to it so I can go right up against the curve of my crucible and pull things out, works really well. Made just from a piece of angle iron welded on a piece of rebar. Cheap, easy to make. But you're going to want something, right? Actually, I shouldn't say what. You're going to need something. You're going to want a can. This is just an old paint can, but you're going to want something to be able to drop that dross into, not throw it all over your concrete floor or anything else. You want to be able to get it in something that's going to be contained. All right, I am going to show you the mother of all crucible tongs, but before I do, I'm going to show you this. Please, please do not let me see. If you publish it, mark it as private. Please do not let me see you lift your crucible with something like this. I told you use graphite clay crucibles, right? Well, if you start grabbing these graphite clay crucibles, you're just going to break them. That's too much pressure in one too little spot. You need something to be able to gently hold on to your crucible. Now, I said I'm going to show you the mother of all crucible tongs. And these things could probably, you could probably do double for the jaws of life, I think. They're pretty stout. But I wanted something that was going to be firm, that I could control. I didn't have to worry about it flexing, anything like that. And so I made these guys. You can see how big they are too. They probably stand, well, they come right to here on me, right? Probably close to 4 feet, 40 some inches, I'm sure. Now, you don't have to do something this big, right? These crucible tongs have a curved bottom on them so they can nicely cradle the crucible. Pretty simple. And it's this nice, secure way to go. You don't have to go as elaborate as that or as heavy duty as that. Guys like Big Stack D, Art by Adrock, both those guys have got lightweight tongs. I think Big Stack D has got a video on it. I'll try to find a link to it right there on how he makes his. And they're lightweight, they're easy to make, and you know, you can go that route, you can go you can go like that. Next thing I want to show you is you're going to have a way to get the metal from the crucible into your mold. I use what's called a shank, right? It is just, in this case, it's just a metal pipe with a piece of cut off and welded onto a T, and that's so I can control it very easily. This side is just a simple loop. The crucible sits down in here just like so, and I can tip it. You can tip it pretty far without ever worrying about it falling out. Certainly far enough that you can get all the metal out of it without any kind of special catch or lip or lid or latch or anything like that. You don't need any of that stuff. All right, so I'm going to put this in the one category. You're going to want a bench. When you're old like me, you don't want to be crawling around on your hands and knees. Having things up high where you can work on them is the way to go. This is a nice metal bench. I made this. It's half-inch plate. I got the plate at the scrapyard, and you know, it is great. I can pour metal on it. I can spill on it, and ain't nothing going to destroy it. Finally, you're going to want an ingot mold. You're going to need to be able to pour your metal into something. I made this guy out of angle iron. Just kind of welded it up before I really knew anything about welding. Not that I've learned a whole lot. But you're going to need someplace to pour your ingots into, right? So that's what mine looks like. So let's make some ingots. Give you a thrill. You don't often get to see me light my furnace. Kicking the afterburners here. All right, well, here's the finished product. There's always one troublemaker. All right, there you go, ingots. All right, that is about it. You're gonna need, I got a whole list here so I don't forget them. You're gonna need a furnace, right? You're going to need a crucible. I talked about getting graphite clay, don't do the metal. You're going to need something to melt. Most of this is that scrap. You can also go this route. This is a certified ingot from I guess an ingot provider, I guess you'd call them, I don't know. Where I know that is pure aluminum. Well, it's not pure aluminum, it's an alloy. But I know what it is, and I know it's relatively oxide free. I mentioned the thermocouple, this guy. Now, let me tell you, you're going to probably want one of those. You're not going to need it, but you're probably going to want it. If you ever get into real casting, besides just casting ingot, pouring ingots, you really need to kind of know where your metal is temperature-wise. And I found with my new furnace, that was crucial to me actually getting anything support, because the metal will melt at a temperature lower than what you want to pour it at. And so you want to make sure your metal's up to temperature. That's a great way to do it. Dross skimmer, you're going to need a dross skimmer. You're going to need, I'm going to say you're going to need a dross can. Lifting tongs, you're going to need lifting tongs. Pouring tongs, you're going to need something like that. You're probably going to want a shank though. I'm telling you right now, shank is better than tongs. You're going to want a bench. The older I get, the less I want to bend over and crawl around on my hands and knees and pour things down on the ground. I want to work up high. I want to work where I can stand up. A bench is a great way to do that. And lastly, you're going to need an ingot mold, obviously, of some shape, size, form, whatever. So a lot of things get started in this whole idea of melting and metal and pouring ingots. But I'll tell you what, it is a lot of fun. It's rewarding, and not monetarily, but it is rewarding from just a satisfaction point of view. So that's it. You guys, as always, be a blessing to somebody and have a great day.